Hello, my name is Jason Oliver, and I'm the bass trombonist and euphonist with the Center Stage Brass, a professional brass group in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I am also a veteran private lesson teacher of over 16 years. I wanted to take my experience and create a couple of videos to help young players, especially those in the ATSSB and TPSMEA, who are preparing etudes for their all-state auditions. In the case of this video, I am preparing Year E and the Fast Etude. I will begin this video by performing the etude to give you a performance model, followed by a series of tips and strategies for practicing this etude by breaking it down and talking about the pitfalls that I find many of my students fall into. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found that piece to be a good starting point for your study of this etude. However, there is more to an etude than just listening to it. It is important to break the etude down into its constituent parts and understand how it is built. This will help you master it and be a great musician more than just a technician of the instrument. So, a good starting point for me is the key signature. In this case, the key signature is the key of A flat major. For some students, this will be a relatively easy key. For other students who might be younger, who are not used to notes such as D flat, which in the lower octave is the valve combination of 2 and 3, and in the upper octave, 2, this might provide a challenge since so many pieces that you've played to this point are in keys where there are D naturals. Often when students miss the key in this piece, it is because they play D naturals and not D flats. So in order to master the key, I recommend students of all ages and experience levels to use the key signature in their fundamentals. So I like to start my day, if I know I'm going to be practicing this etude, by playing the A flat major scale in whole notes. I might then move on to playing the scale in a more traditional way as an articulation exercise. Also remembering to play the arpeggio and the scale in thirds, because those types of patterns are found throughout this piece. The next thing I want to talk about is the tempo and the style. In the case of this piece, it is marked to be allegro marzal, which means fast and in a military style. Let's talk about tempo first. Music is not a race. A lot of times when I'm teaching this piece to younger students, they always look at the recommended tempo of 112 to 120, and they want to go as fast as they possibly can. Many times they think the faster you go, the better you must be. But that's not always the case. When studying this etude, you want to go for consistency, cleanliness, and accuracy before speed. So, while it says allegro and fast, if you can work it up to a nice solid tempo of 112 beats a minute, you're going to do perfectly fine. Next, let's talk about style. A march style is what this is implied to be, so in a military style. I like to interpret that as a style with separation and nice forceful articulations that are clean and crisp, making sure to use a T articulation for all non-slurred notes. The next thing I'd like to talk about is the dotted 8 16th notes and the triplets throughout this piece. The rhythm can be quite problematic. As you study this piece, you may accidentally begin to tripletize your dotted 8 16th note groupings after playing the triplets. We have to keep the two subdivisions straight in our head. I recommend to my students to pick a note that they like, set a metronome, and play the piece. being very aware of the differences between a dotted 8/16 note and a triplet. So for example, if I played the first line of this piece, I want to make sure that my 16th notes are true 16th notes in 1/4 of a beat. So for this case, an example, I will play all of this on the note E flat. 1, 2, 3. So as you can see, I went way out of my way to make sure that my audience would know that certain notes are in a duple subdivision, like the dotted 8/16 notes, and the triplets are in a completely different subdivision. You want to avoid this from happening. As you can tell, those dotted 8/16 notes began to sound more like triplets. You could also tell that they became longer because I changed the style. I often find that when my younger students are trying to play this, they're trying to, of course, play with their best sound. And by that, they start to play the notes longer. And the longer they play them, and the fuller they play them, the less crisp the 16th notes are. So when you're practicing this piece, set a metronome and do your very best to make a difference between the dotted 8/16 notes and the triplets. So there's my guide to this etude. I hope it helps. Remember, as I said, the person that plays it the fastest won't necessarily win the audition, but the musician who comes in and plays it in time, the cleanest, in tune with the best sound, most likely will. My best recommendation when starting this etude is to break it down into small chunks, 2 or 4 bars at a time. Master the key signature, master the style, know the dynamics, and think like a musician. So there it is. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, and thank you for watching.